define a troublemaker as anyone who's unprovoked and who deliberately targets you in any way that has a negative effect on your body, mind, or spirit. And they're everywhere. The next person you meet in the car park or outside could be one. A person at work, a colleague or a superior could be one, or you may live with one. Needless to say, in everyday life we will all meet and have to deal with troublemakers at some time. Now, besides getting sick or being in an accident and public speaking, physical violence or trouble is generally considered to be one of the worst things that can happen to us in everyday life, right? Now, often, as is the case with public speaking, the consequences from the fear far outweigh anything that may result in the action. And this is the case with the fear of trouble, even though it is a significant fear. It's significant because the people who live with it, who suffer from it, must live with it every day, and then they must suffer from a corresponding amount of joy-sapping stress in their lives. And in practical terms, this could mean that you live your life in varying degrees, held back by self-imposed restrictions, so that whenever an activity, opportunity or venture requiring a degree of boldness presents itself, you automatically hold back and become negative and miss out. Now, the strange and good thing is that once you can become emotionally detached from that fear by confronting it and tackling it head on, that fear becomes demystified and will drift permanently out of your life like fog in the morning sunshine as you become internally centred and balanced and as your spirit grows. And I think as speakers, being able to deal with nerves and fears, you'll be able to relate to that in some way. Now, the fear of trouble, it also applies to this. And one of the best ways of tackling and confronting the fear of trouble head on is if you try Taekwondo training, because you get to learn all the theoretical and practical applications of using your body, mind and spirit. So, the bottom line is, the key to being safe in the space is the principle of knowledge is power. Guns, knives, Taekwondo are merely tools for the ultimate of weapons, the brain. Therefore, if you can train your brain to utilise some good old-fashioned common sense, have a couple of principles and strategies ready up your sleeve, and have a couple of tactical moves at the ready, it's relatively easy to sidestep around and not connect with those energy-sucking troublemakers of the world. Now, I'd like to look at some of those principles, and I will need the help. I will need someone from the audience to hit.
Use Rob. Is that okay?
Sorry. I need someone to help. So please, no stampings. Can we have a volunteer? All right, come on.
Oh, both.
Kingsley. Okay, Kingsley beats the jump. Thanks for coming. I'll give Kingsley a round of applause. No, I don't. He's good. You're getting out of his comfort zone. Now, to be safe in your space, you firstly have to realise where it is, don't you? What is your space to be safe? So we have physical space, we have mental space, and we have emotional space. And it's something that's really important and affects us in every way we meet an individual in all areas of our life. And our space can be influenced if another person is dominant, neutral, or submissive. So now, to make this point so clear, I'd like to do a demonstration where you can see the physical aspects from it, and then you'll be able to apply it in all the other areas of our life. Now, Kingsley, without moving and without any contact, I'll move into your space, like so. I'm right inside your body space, aren't I? Yes. We're not touching, are we? Now, can you feel my force, like a tangible presence pressing against you, even though we're not touching? Now, if I just back off 2 centimetres, like so, can you feel it? It's a little bit less now. Can you feel that? Yeah. Now let's go back just enough. Can you feel it lessen even more now? Sure. Now, can you see how powerful this is? It happens at a subliminal level in all areas of our life. And 99.9% of the people have got no idea of its existence, let alone that they're being manipulated by it. Now, Kingsley, tell me when I'm out of your space. That's fine. Well, I need a little bit more. Now, if we were to draw an imaginary line in the centre line there, anything that side of the line is Kingsley's and this side is mine. So I call that the neutral zone, that line in the middle. So therefore, the game of life is controlling and managing that space surrounded by your neutral zone. And ideally, when we meet people who are trying their dominating stuff on us, we meet them in the middle on the neutral zone as equals. So please give Kingsley a round of applause. Now, the second point, or the second principle, relates to when does a potential troublemaker become an actual troublemaker? And this relates to the theory or principle of timing. To be safe in your space, timing is nearly everything. Now, you'll need a little bit of imagination for this. Firstly, imagine that you're not sitting where you are, and imagine you're standing in front of me face to face. Can you do that? Now imagine the neutral zone is here, just in front of me, and you're on your side, and I'm on my side. Now this is where you're really going to have to use your imagination. Imagine that I'm a troublemaker. Can you do that? Well, thanks a lot. Now, if I'm the troublemaker on my side, you're on your side, there's a neutral zone, I'm the potential troublemaker because this is my space, there's a neutral zone, and you're there. Now, to become an actual troublemaker, I'm going to have to cross that neutral zone into your space, and either with a big hit or with a grab, come into your space and attack you. Now, I call the split second that someone crosses that neutral zone with a malicious intent as the action point. Now, it's important to discuss the action point because anything that happens before it is physically harmless talk, posturing, and theatrics. It's negative body language. It's harmless. So it's not worth becoming stressed out over or becoming submissive. And remember, talk is only a noise that can affect your ego if you let it. Now, by recognising the action point, we have an early warning system that an attacker is coming into your space. And so, if we can recognise this, we have time to prepare and either escape or to nullify their attack or their aggression with our own strategies. Now, so there you are, you're in your space, I'm in mine, there's a neutral zone. Now, if you just watch this shoulder area where I am here, to get at your space, these shoulders have to have that forward momentum, and secondly, as my fist goes back or my hand, this shoulder goes back. So the key is, there's a neutral zone. As you cross over, this shoulder goes back. When those two things coincide, that is the action point, and you can be ready. Does that make sense? Therefore, the challenge is to be able to acquire the knowledge or gain the power of not reacting prematurely to any provocative or antagonistic behaviour from a potential troublemaker, despite how extreme it is, as well as being able to recognise, anticipate, and be prepared for an impending action point. Now, the $64,000 question begs, what do you do at the action point? Well, to find out, you'll just have to ask me back another time. I'll leave you with some words that were first written over 2,500 years ago by the master strategist General Sun Tzu, relating to the theory of knowledge being power. And he says, know yourself and know your enemy. And you may fight 100 battles without one disaster.